Well, howdy, nearly senior citizen here. Greetings, boys, girls, and all of our non-binary friends, and welcome to this, a brand new day. It was rainy, slushy yesterday, and then it started to snow just as I was going to bed, and now it's just raining, and the snow is largely gone. I like snow, I just don't like driving in snow. Yay! And I woke up this morning, my leg looks better. It's not nearly as swollen. You can hardly tell when I woke up. I still have to put my sports stockings on. And it's less red in the injured area, but more red in other areas that aren't. It's barely warm, but oh my God, does it hurt. So thumbs up on that. Anyway, though, front-loading of videos, hey, if you could toss me a like, it'd be cool. If you could subscribe to the channel, it'd be awesome. If you could leave me a comment, anything at all, even for the algorithm, that would be double plus good. And, of course, I would like to thank each and every one of my Patreon patrons. These literally beautiful and literally awesome people are, in fact, literally beautiful and literally awesome, helping to keep me and my pet alive. I do appreciate that to no end. I appreciate metabolizing. I think my kitty appreciates metabolizing, so thank you. And if you'd like to help me continue to survive, there are links in the video description to the Patreon as well as to a PayPal for any possible donations, an Amazon wishlist link with things like cat food, and of course a post office box where if anybody at all sends me anything, even a distant postcard, I'll show it off on camera. Thumbs up, thank you. And hey, front loading of videos over. Oh boy, yeah, I went to the library yesterday to get some printing done, and then while I was there, I decided, I might as well walk to Walmart and get some stuff because I need to buy some stuff. And so I did the printing at Walmart and at the library, and of course the printer was acting up. So even though there was paper inside of it, I had to sit there and watch how it was done so that every single print job I could stop, tell it to go to this print tray. Yes, you've got paper, go. And then it would print and then tell me to put paper in. And then I'd have to go, okay, open up, change paper, that tray, okay. And then it would print. And then I'd have to do it again with each print thing. And so it took forever, but that's life. At least it's done. A good thing on that. One thing that I did mess up, there's a game, I've talked about the game Morkborg. It's a very grim, dark, super grim fantasy role-playing game that you can play solo, but they give away a free version with no art. So it gives all the rules, just no art. And I tried to print that and screwed it up badly. It's so tiny printed, I can't even read it. So, yay. But all the other stuff I printed out. One thing I'm kind of not upset about, but worried about, I got the game Alone Against Fear. And that's good. But it's one of those games that has events in it. So you don't want to read ahead because then you'll know what's going to happen. But as you play it, of course, you're going to read the events. So how much it talks about having great amounts of replayability, but when you've gone through all the events, what do you do then? So I'm going to be investigating to see what there is, and it looks good. I mean, I'm not putting it down. There is another game that's it's funny and it makes me irate. I've been doing Dungeon Blitz. I did the first Dungeon Blitz game for the channel already. I'm in the middle of the second Dungeon Blitz, and then there's the third one that I want to go through, and then it stops. Another person does another series of stuff. Well, it's another person, another company, and it's like Axos is the name of the setting. I think it's something like that. But they tell you in the rules, this is all you need to play, and you can enjoy the game with just this and nothing else. But it's like Dungeon Blitz, in that you roll on the chart, check the table to see where they tell what's in the room that you just called up. And in the base game, there's no charts. You can't play the game. It's like, roll the dice to see what room you go into, but there's no table that tells you what the room is. Other than that, the game's all there. So if you wanted to make your own tables for yourself, you could, but there's no indications of what you should do. And of course, every adventure past that costs. So the rule book's free, but each one costs past that. There's a fair amount of adventures, and they're only $1 each. I'm not sure what I'm going to do about that, but we shall see. So I printed out. There are also a bunch of these smaller, absolutely free RPG things. Like there's a thing called Rusty Dagger, and they're just 1 page, but they're really tiny printed so that you're actually supposed to fold them up into little tiny booklets. And then you play them that way. And they're just 1 quick adventure. And there's like 8 of those in the Rusty Dagger series. And then there's a Dungeon Hero series. And each one of those is, again, printed on like 1 or 2 pages. And those are all free. And I want to do those because those are fun. So there's a lot of things I have planned for the channel. As well as, of course, I still want to do some D100 Dungeon. I love crunchy games like that, and that's very crunchy, so thumbs up. What else do I have on my list now here? Oh, yes. I've talked about my leg and the pain. I've talked about the library, the trip up to Walmart. Hokey smokes, that hurt like hell by the time I got back. It was not good. So, yay. I didn't have to stop like I did the other day, but it was not really a smart idea. But taking a look on here once again. Now this is a person who's much older than I, but they were born in 1948. That's 14 years older than me. Aileen Kaminsky Crum, wife of Robert Crumb, who's they were both very famous. Well, he's still a very famous underground cartoonist. She was a very famous underground cartoonist, and she's dead now. More and more. Just like with Greg Bear, who was a science fiction author, and at 71, gone. More and more people I grew up watching, listening to, reading, all of this stuff just dropping like flies. Which rubs in, of course, that, hey, I just turned 60 and 70, where a lot of these people are kicking off and they got money and access to healthcare. That's not very far away. That's a freight train that's racing right at me at bullet train speeds. Of course, it's running at all of us that speed, so thumbs up on that. It is scary to think about. I like existing. I mean, all things have a beginning, a middle, and an end. And if this were time, if you were born at 6 o'clock in the morning and at 6 o'clock at night you went away, I'm at like 4:30. So thumbs up. What else do we have on here? There's a couple things. I'm gonna talk about this one. One of the things I'm gonna be doing, I want to continue doing 4 Against Darkness because I really enjoy that game as well. I've got some characters out in a dungeon as I've been learning and playing on the channel. Now I've got a better idea. I'd mentioned Undermarb as a thing before, and Marbden, the town of Marbden, and how there's the perpetual dungeon underneath Marbden, Undermarb. This is the setting that I am going to be doing the 4 Against Dungeon stuff in now, where the people who had originally discovered it and have been adventuring, they have found out they need money to buy armor and weapons because it is much more dangerous down there than they thought. This attracts attention. People are coming in to go down there because, hey, they've had to sell outside of their little town of Marbden to get money and buy things. People are starting to come in to go adventuring themselves to set up things because, hey, they need torches. I can sell you torches. That sort of thing. This is building up. Now I figure, because when your characters show up, when this is at a time when there is a stable front room and 5 doors leading off that, but I'll come back to it because I also figure there's a lot to talk about here and I'm trying not to over weird myself. Sorry, that doesn't even make sense, but hopefully it makes sense. The people that I will be running, I am a character. I am the patron of the Adventurers Guild. I, as a person, have gotten a provisional application for the Adventurers Guild. We have no money to make the application. We are sending people into Undermarb to get stuff to prove that we can be in a franchise of the Adventurers Guild. And they're going to be watching for X amount of time until you can get the money to actually pay for your provisional application to turn it into an actual application. You are being watched. And if you ever show that you or this place maybe not so good, your provisional application is removed. So you have to prove yourself. When you finally show up and say, this is our application, here is our application fee, you just get told, here is your membership. Because making it to that point is the test. And so this is the point that's happening. I am going to be the patron of the Adventurers Guild, which all that means is I am using troop play, a bunch of characters to rotate in and out on adventures to send them into Undermarb. And we need the money, and we need to bring things out to prove that Undermarb deserves an Adventurers Guild. Now, as this is part of the setting where, yes, it does, and Marbden is going to grow into not the actual capital of this area, but they're at least the cultural capital. I mean, it grows to like a couple million people. But for every one person in Marbden, there are at least 5 in Undermarb by that time. So it is gigantic underground. And the thing about the dungeon, it is a perpetual dungeon type. But since it takes place on either the inside or the razor's edge, it too is very unstable. But because Undermarb is a perpetual dungeon, and civilizations have for a long time been going in and then continuing downward and out and then vanishing, and then it all starts over again later. This has been going on for a long time, but these people in Marbden, I've lost my original track on that. The original story of Marbden, they find this place. It's a perpetual dungeon, but because it's there, it is geologically not unstable, but just the area is undifferentiated. So if you go into the dungeon, when you are inside, you can always find your way back. But if there's no one inside holding the place stable, where you leave, you'll never be able to find again. Even if you leave a rope and mark on the walls, the marks in the rope will start going weird places if you try to follow it, until at last, like, the rope breaks, or the marks that you left are like pointing at the ceiling. You never had these things pointing at the ceiling, and then they just stop. It is unstable in that fashion. But if somebody is still inside and alive, you could follow the path inward, rescue them, bring them out, and once you're out, it becomes undifferentiated again. The thing about that, though, is that is how you would settle an area, because they would slowly figure out that as you go in, you can always come back out. And when you're in, you can always trace a path to that area. This is how Marbden begins to, Undermarb starts to expand, because people want to go adventuring because you find good stuff. And if you find a really good thing, you can be set for life. There are governments, there are institutions, there are all sorts of things and organizations that are sending people in to find stuff, because Marbden again grows to a huge cultural capital. And it is this. And as they continue to stretch outward, it might be you spend 2-3 days before you reach an area where you can start to adventure with little settlements here and there, until you finally, at 3 days, you can adventure. Well, you petition the Adventurers Guild to see if they will put an outpost there. And then if they decide to, they'll come out and take a look. They will contract with the local people to come out and settle there, to make services, contract with blacksmiths, contract with shopkeepers, contract with people to do things, provide them with supplies that they don't charge them for to build the areas. So if you build a store in that little outpost area, you have to build it. They'll supply you with the supplies. You build it. You get emotionally invested in the place. It becomes a settlement. And after it's stable enough, you'll discover that it's grown large enough, because all these places always attract people to, hey, do you want to buy this before you go out adventuring? And this is how Undermarb grows. And this is the settlement right now where I'm going to be doing all the adventuring stuff. There's the large arched room when you go inside. This part is stable. There are the 5 gateways. These are branches. There's going to be an artery that you find. An artery is a huge cavern / tunnel that runs through the place. And when I say huge, I mean it's like Grand Canyon gigantic. You could put a public transport system through it, which they end up doing, so that you can have large mass public transport with buildings, with a large amount of people, all in these gigantic arteries. And the arteries will occasionally set out other arteries. There's a formula for it. I don't even understand long division. I couldn't tell you what the math is. But arteries break off of those arteries. And from the arteries, they will branch off into branches. Each branch will continue to branch, generally smaller than the parent branch, until finally they just go out and they can build up again. Because when you head out far enough away from the other arteries and branches, you're opening up into new undifferentiated areas, and it all starts afresh there. And being undifferentiated, it doesn't really happen until you get there, but it's not just made up. Whenever you go into a new area, these areas show evidence of being lived in. It's not just made up out of nothing. People have lived in these areas. You will find warehouses. You will find old, dusty farmlands under gigantic caverns. It's obvious this place was lived in, but you can go from a high-tech building office interior to a low-tech farm cavern to a high-tech industrial area to another low-tech area with vinyl siding on the walls, to chipped rock, to brick. It is a very, very odd place. But oh my gosh, is it filled with so much. And that's a very, very good thing. Later on, like tomorrow, I'm going to talk more about the bloody tour bus. I want to just talk about that because I think it's funny to have these people who are like the very few survivors who are going to be torn apart and eaten by hyena-like creatures. And instead of everyone, I mean, they're screaming, they're hurting, but they're all being philosophical about this. Like, why am I fighting? I do not know. I am injured. I am slowly bleeding out. And even if I survive that, we're going to be eaten by these beasts. But every beat of my heart, every breath I take is precious. Why do I fight when I know I'm going to die? It is for this. Who would be philosophical like that when beasts are tearing apart a metal door so that they can get in to eat you? And yet, I've opened up 24 hours with the comments in my community tab. Going to go through and thank however many people have left me comments in the past 24 hours. If I mispronounce the username, no disrespect is intended. And even though I count in American Sign Language, well, you've already seen how my brain works. So, let me call my Chrome. We have Jesse Koskinen, thumbs up, thank you very much, and it is good to smile. We have James Jackson, greatly appreciated. Sylvia Wilkinson, I wish I had more than just the one yellow shirt. I don't even have money to buy new shirts, except for like maybe once a year. Yay. We have Zach Campbell, greatly appreciated and optimized, thumbs up, thank you. Sober Journalismo, I bet I'm nowhere close, but thank you very much. There is Chris, greatly appreciated, and Floramu with quite a large amount of comments, and I would like to comment on them, but right now I can't. So thank you very much. Pinball, Evan, thumbs up and thank you. Shinrock, good to see you in the comments. We have Ben B, greatly appreciated, and just not being able to sleep. What is that word? Insomnia? It blows. 11 people who left me comments in the past 24 hours. Greatly appreciated. Get me out of my head, if only for a short time. Dealing with real people, if only in text. And that's cool. Thank you very much. Greatly appreciated. So today is a weekend. I'm going to be doing some For Against Darkness recording, so that's a good thing. I have to move a bunch of stuff, bring in the table, move the stick over, dangle my PlayStation camera from it, and then take it all apart again when I'm done. It's a hassle, but it's worth it for me. So thumbs up on that. Hopefully you can get done the things that you want to get done. That would be a good thing. And of course, with the world the way it is, if people are getting sick where you are, please take the appropriate precautions. You don't want to get sick. You don't want to make other people sick. If people are getting hurt and injured physically where you are, please take precautions if you're going into that area. If people are being stabbed with knives, don't take off your shirt and wear a sign that says "Free Kidneys Here." That would be bad. And of course, if you're out walking at night in the fog and you hear that mournful howl of the bus horn, the bus with your name on it, just try not to get anybody else hurt. Oh boy, I mean, you're going to get smeared across the landscape. It's going to be horrific. But you don't need to take anyone else with you. So, until we meet again, you take care. Have a great day today. I will see you on the flip side, and that is a very good thing.